With over 400 celebrity interviews and tons of pop culture nerdiness, Too Opinionated is a safe haven for your inner geek. Find us at meistercon.com or on YouTube under MeisterCon Pod. And please subscribe. It would really help us out. Thanks, everybody. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Too Opinionated. Super excited. Today, I've got returning guest, one of our favorite actors on the planet, Jim Meskimen, with me. So welcome back, Jim.
You're very gracious, Michael. Thank you. Thank you so much. And you're one of my favorite hosts.
Well,
a lot of favoritism.
You didn't have to say that, but I appreciate it.
Well, yeah.
So you've been pretty busy since the last time we talked. I think your show GASLIT was getting ready to come out.
Yeah, GASLIT came out in April, and that's available to see on Starz, a limited series with Julia Roberts and Sean Penn. Went over pretty big, and it was a great experience. Then I also have been recurring on a comedy on NBC called American Auto. And so
love you on American Auto. It's an underrated show.
It's a pretty funny show. It's definitely got an office-y vibe to it.
Yeah.
And it's by the same guy that did what was it called? Not the big store. That's something else. Superstore.
Oh yeah.
Bigger than the big store. The Superstore.
The Superstore. I was a big fan of that show. I hated to see that one in, but American Auto has been really good.
Yeah, I agree. So I'm recurring on that as the head of the auto plant. So that's a nice little job. And gosh, I stay really busy. I still do my KFC. I'm Colonel Sanders on the KFC. So you've heard me talk about things being finger looking good, and they're still finger looking good.
Yeah. I know you've been so busy. So now your new one, you're going to play Phil Donahue.
Right. Coming out a little later this month. I think it's the 21st it launches, and it's a show it's a limited series called Welcome to Chippendales, about the Chippendales dancers. And I don't know about you, Michael, but I did not have a lot of experience watching the Chippendales dancers.
We should not expect you to dance in this.
Yeah, no, and I'm not dancing, but they apparently they were introduced to the American audience by Phil Donahue on his famous show in the 90s. So they were looking to cast a Phil Donahue, and so I auditioned and got the role, and it was a lot of fun. I spent a day watching men gyrate and women in 90s clothes paw at them and somehow keeping in the COVID protocol. So I don't know how that works, but
I've been trying to figure out what Phil Donahue had to do with the Chippendales. So now I know.
That's it. Yeah, he was the vehicle for them to hit the world audience, or the American audience, back in the 90s.
Kids today don't understand how big Phil Donahue was at one time.
Yeah, he was. I mean, this is still at a time, I think, when there was limited, we didn't have the proliferation of channels. We had cable then, I think, but we didn't have a gazillion channels. No. So, yeah, Phil was a real fixture for a number of years. I didn't really watch him during that time. I was in New York, and I was busy, and we had terrible reception on our television, so we never watched TV at all for about 10 years. But I went back on YouTube, and I was a little bit familiar with him, but then I watched him, and I went, oh, okay, he's this big, kind of a pleasant Midwestern guy, like an announcer, very much like guys, I don't know, very sort of all-American guy, with a lot of white hair. And so they gave me a nice...
He kind of started the daytime talk show stuff.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
It's not that big a deal now. There's a lot of people that do that, but there wasn't a ton of those back in the 80s, early 90s.
Yeah, that's true. He was a trendsetter. So, yeah, big part of popular culture. I guess he's still around, but he's not appearing on anything anymore. But I think he still lives in New York and possibly has his finger in a lot of things. I bet. He's very productive.
So he hasn't seen your impersonation yet.
I don't know. I really don't know. I have no idea. I think it's unlikely that he has.
You sound like him.
Thank you. Well, I think we're similar genetically, and that helps. Although I think he's from Chicago and I'm not from Chicago, but I can, put on a little bit of it if I need to. And it's fun to play these characters that are already kind of known. You know, you feel a lot of sense of security, I think, especially for me as an impressionist. You know, I played Johnny Carson quite often on films and television shows. And you always feel like, well, that's a very, you know, you get a whole big package of character there. You just get a feeling for the aesthetic and the mood of the guy, the emotion, the kind of words he'd say and the way he'd say them. And it gives you a lot of security.
Yeah. Yeah. I hadn't heard his voice in years, but then
Carson's.
I hear you, Donahue's.
Donahue.
I hear you do him though. I'm like, that's him.
That's the way he sounded. So
I guess it's been a while since I've heard Carson too, although they started airing some of his old shows on the radio. So I've listened to it driving a little bit.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice. Yeah, those are great. They're all over YouTube. You can see it just seems fantastical sometimes, like unbelievable when you see somebody sitting at the next to the desk and see who Johnny is talking to, and it's like, oh my God, that person was there. It's like amazing. These iconic things. Well, just one icon after another would sit down at that bench next to him.
It was different. I think like the talk show scene was different. It was like an event every night.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it had less structure, you know, and longer time. Yeah. So you see them and they meander and they tell stories, and one really has the feeling that they didn't really even kind of discuss this story beforehand, like they do today. Like today on talk shows, they go, "All right, what's your story? All right, what's your in? You got to, can you keep it shorter? It's got to be 2 minutes and 45 seconds." And it's a lot of pressure because they're selling stuff with their show, basically, which they always were with the Tonight Show too. But somehow it just seems more elastic.
Well, and they would, like Johnny would invite people just to hang out. You know, so other guests would come on, and you'd still have the previous guests just sitting on the couch. They just scoot down.
Yeah, they have nothing
better
to do.
They don't do that anymore.
No, not anymore. Everyone's too busy. You always have Jimmy's story on. They tell a story or two, and then they just scoot down on the couch, you know, take a break. Yeah, it's a different world. It's a little more high pressure these days. And I did a lot of work for the Kimmel, not the Kimmel, who was before Jay Leno. I did the Jay Leno show a lot behind the scenes. I did like George W. Bush for Jay Leno. Leno, is it Leno? I can't remember. I saw him leaning around on people. So I used to do that, and also Morgan Freeman. They would do these faux Olympics ads on the Tonight Show, and they would show some sort of epic sports fail, and say, "You dumbass, how did you make it in the Olympics?" So,
so since we talked, your TikTok has exploded.
I know.
Were you surprised at the response that you got? I mean, I assume you expected to get some response, but that was a big response.
Yeah, I mean, I got involved with TikTok just because it's another platform where you can reach out to people, and I do content all the time. So someone said it was a good idea. But yeah, I recently had one that's almost 8 million views, and that is shocking. And I didn't change the recipe up very much. I mean, it's just so unpredictable, I guess. It's the same with YouTube. You know, you do something that you've done before, and nobody pays any attention, and then everybody pays attention. And
that's right.
It's crazy. But
it's usually the things you don't think are going to be
always
big that ends up being the big ones.
But now and then, of course, the thing is, you get that it's almost like a drug. You're like, oh God, what am I going to do next? And I've got to somehow design something. I need my 9 million views a week. I gotta have views. Yeah. But I didn't expect it, and I don't. It's not monetized. It's not. But I'm making friends. I'm introducing my talents to a lot of people that apparently I never met before and never had access to before. They're also tiny. Also on TikTok, the people are tiny and their names are weird. You know, it's not like no name you could ever recognize of people. They don't put their own names on it, but it's like Mike Fuzzy Pants 35. You're like, okay, who is that?
8 million followers.
Yeah.
Back when he was just Mike. Nobody was Mike.
Yeah, that's right. Before he even bought those fuzzy pants at the vintage store.
It took off. I don't remember if we talked about this last time, but you've got like an online acting course.
Yeah, I don't think we did because it launched not too long ago, and I think we talked before that. Yeah, I have an online. It's not an acting course particularly. I'm not teaching people acting. That's a whole nother field, and actually my wife has got an acting school, and they've got that pretty covered. But my course is about being a working actor. You're an actor. I already assume you're an actor, and maybe you're a beginning actor, maybe you're an experienced actor. But the trick is, as I know from my 35 years, is how do you keep it going? How do you maintain it? How do you make it build? And because you can get booted out pretty easily, even if you think you have a big success, like this show Gaslit that I did, that was like a big splashy thing. But I also realized that, well, I need more. I need to keep things going. And so there are specific things that I've done over the years and learned to do and discipline myself to do to keep things moving, so that I'm working on a regular basis and on better projects and really building a career. And that I find is an underrepresented topic in online
No,
courses.
I actually really like that, because I think that's the type of questions, if you were an actor, that you might have, but not really have anybody that you can ask.
Yeah, and I've learned from my own experience, also from observing my mom, Marion Ross, who played Mrs. C. We talked about her before. And she says hi, by the way. And she just turned 94.
I'm a big fan of hers.
Oh, of course. Pretty much everybody I've ever met. If I ever met someone who said, "Oh, your mom is like, oh, she sucks," I'm like, "Oh, good. Come with me."
Happy Days might have lasted a few more years if it wasn't for her.
Well, she's had happy days, and she just turned 94, and she's still having happy days. But I observed her as a single mom raising two kids, who was determined to be a working actress, had no other path, no plan B, and made it happen. And she did particular things, and so I talk about those in my course. And there are a lot of things that I emulated as well, because, hey, it works. It's really not that everybody can become an icon. Obviously, I haven't got that figured out, but that may be the luck of the draw, or, prayer, or any combination of things. But I did notice that she was very, very determined and did specific things that I noticed other actors don't do or haven't done.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's really neat, because she must have figured that out basically on her own.
Yep. Yeah. Trial and error. Yeah, she's a tough one. She's a tough Minnesota girl. So that course is available at jimworkingactor.com if anybody's interested. jimworkingactor.com. It's a series of videos and a couple of ebooks. There's a part about voiceover. There's a part about even impressions. And we've made it very affordable, and it's got a money-back guarantee and all that stuff. So,
yeah, I think that's terrific. And you're right. That's different from your normal, here's how you act type of courses.
Yeah, I wouldn't know how to teach that. Honestly, I know it can be done, but it's a whole big other artistic subject, and really a life path. I mean, I'm still trying to figure out how to be a great actor, and every audition I do, I'm like, where, I have certain techniques now that I use that I learned from my wife's school, the acting center, and they're very helpful, but it's an artistic practice. And so you grow and you try different things, and you're learning all the time. And if you're a sensitive person, you're absorbing things from life and really starting from scratch with every performance.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's exactly what you're doing, but it's not always easy to pass that on to people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if we get a live action Thundercats, will you be a part of that?
Oh, I'd love to be. I would absolutely love to be. I think I have to keep working out, obviously, and they have to use a lot of prosthetic makeup. But I would love to be part of it. I've been part of that franchise, as you know. It's a big soft pitch for me, because I designed characters for the original show when I was back in my other lifetime of being an illustrator, cartoonist, animation designer, and then I've gotten myself in on subsequent reboots of the show, the animated show. But they've been talking about a live action version for a really long time, and somebody's going to solve that. Maybe there are scripts floating around. I don't know. I'm not privy to them, but somebody is going to solve that. And, Disney doesn't own it. So
it's one of the few.
One of the few. It'll be interesting to flesh that out. I have to say that Jules Bass, my former boss at Rankin Bass, he was the Bass of Rankin Bass, responsible for Thundercats, also Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, Frosty the Snowman, an early rendition of The Hobbit, just passed away a couple months ago. And he was a really big part of my life, especially my early life when I was in my early 20s, because he hired me to do these character designs. And he was a really decent guy. I liked him a lot, and he had a wonderful career and created so much wonderful entertainment that's still, I mean, my wife and I watch Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer every year.
Because us too.
Yeah, it's great. It's so enduring. It's very corny. I was just talking to a special effects guy today, actually at the gym, who's, very experienced. We're talking about special effects movies. And of course, today, you can make a special effect film of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer that is, complete down to every dot of dew on an antler, being completely incredible rendition and completely realistic and convincing. But you watch Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, and you can practically see the operator's hands in it. I mean, it's so raw, and yet it's just perfect. The technical rendition is one thing. Yeah. The message is so great. The humor is so great. Those silly songs holds up great. It's still funny. I laugh out loud. Yukon Cornelius. Oh, abominable. Come here. Just great.
So did he do the animated Hobbit?
Yes, the Ralph. Yes, he did. He did he did the animated Hobbit. I think with was that with Ralph Bakshi or separately?
I used to love that one. They used to show that. Strangely enough, they would show it every Easter for some reason. I'd watch it every year.
Lack of programming, I think.
I was like, all right, the Hobbit is an Easter.
Sure, the Hobbit. I see that. I think you can kind of go, yeah, it kind of works. Because of the holes in the ground. I don't know.
They were kind of desperate for Easter programming, I guess.
Yeah, there's not a lot of,
because you'd get the Hobbit, 10 Commandments would be every Easter. You'll get that, and then there was like it's kind of like in the Rudolph type of whatever that was, claymation or that type of animation, but it was Peter Rabbit, but you had an evil rabbit.
Yeah, I think Rankin Bass had some sort of entry in that. And it's stop motion animation, most of it done in the Pacific Rim by some very talented Japanese artists. The little figures. When the office that I worked in New York on 53rd Street, we had the little, Rudolph models and the Frosty the Snowman models in the office there behind plexiglass.
I love it.
Look at them. They look kind of moth-eaten and cool.
Yeah. Well, that's that type of the stop motion was where the Meister and Meistercon comes from, because it's Meisterburger Burgermeister from that was it Santa Claus Coming to Town.
Oh, okay. I'm not as familiar with that.
Yeah. But same type of it's in that Rudolph Frosty type of
They
did Little Drummer Boy too, was another one of those.
You're right, that's right. Yeah.
Had that in it. So okay, so I got a little game for you, Jim.
Okay.
I know we're short on time, so I'm gonna give you a line from one of my favorite movies, and then we'll see if you can say that line as different people.
Okay, sure, of course.
All right. So my favorite movie, period, and I got lots of them I watch, but I love Tombstone. All right. So Tombstone, because it's very quotable.
Yeah.
A lot of good quotes. All right. So your line is Val Kilmer's line, not me, I'm in my prime.
Okay. Now, I've never seen this movie, but I know.
Okay. This should be interesting.
Not me.
I mean, watch that movie. That's a great Western.
Doesn't he have a kind of a Southern accent? Isn't he like, not me, but I'm in my prime, something like that?
Yeah, that's actually pretty good. That's pretty good.
I'm extrapolating that.
But
it could be it could be Robert De Niro as well. Could say it's not me. It's not me. It's not me. I'm in my prime. All right.
Yes, that's it. Okay, so you get it. So that's the line. You're doing Doc Holliday, basically. All right, so let's try.
Doesn't he say something like? Doesn't he say something like, "I have not yet begun to defile myself"?
Yes, he does.
I know that line. I've heard that one.
Well, all right, we can use that line if you prefer it. Use that one. That's a good line. All right, let's try it as George Bush.
I've not yet begun to do any filing. I don't even defile myself.
Can you do it as Sam Elliott?
As who?
Sam Elliott.
Sam Elliott. I have not yet begun to defile myself.
Sam was in the movie.
Oh, he might have said that line. Who knows?
No, it's still Val Kilmer, but
he had his own thing.
How about Robin Williams?
Oh, geez, look at the time. I've not yet begun to defile myself. I got to get busy. Oh, I'm going to have to defile myself a couple of times before breakfast.
Tommy Lee Jones.
Tell you what, I have not yet begun to defile myself. But when I get to it, I'll let you know.
All right. Couple more.
Sure.
Let's try it as Johnny Carson.
Okay. Well, Doc, I love the jacket you're wearing. I can tell that you've begun to defile yourself because you're wearing last year's jacket. Isn't that right? Well, that's great. It looks like a mixture between Toady Field's underwear and a pool tent.
Right, that would have been a good one to end on. But how about Patrick Stewart to end on?
Patrick Stewart, yes. I have not yet begun to defile myself. But if you bring a keg of Romulan ale by, I'll show you exactly how it's done on the bridge.
Has he ever heard you do that impersonation?
I think so, because I did a video of a rap battle between Patrick Stewart and Robert De Niro about who were better actors, the Brits or the Americans, and I was frustrated that it didn't go viral. But when I happened to meet and work with Patrick Stewart's son, I forget his name now, but he promised he was Patrick Stewart's son, and I said, "Would you please get this link to your dad?" Because I'd love to, which is a terrible thing to do because he's never going to appreciate it. Somebody, imitating him. But I was completely self-centered, so I know he saw it. He didn't really respond, but maybe there was a tiny bit of admiration for at least my determination in putting it in front of him. But it's a very funny little video. If your listeners or your viewers wish to see it, it's on my YouTube channel. It's called rap battle, I think, between Picard and De Niro.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Yeah,
I think so.
It's pretty great.
Because it's got the deep fake. We use the deep fake technology, so I look really like those two actors.
I got to talk with Jennifer Elise Cox, that played Jan Brady in the Brady Bunch movie, but she used to hang out with Patrick Stewart's son, and she tells a story about they would sneak Patrick's car and go running around when they were in high school.
What kind of a car did he have?
Well, I don't remember. I'm sure it was a nice one, though.
I suspect it was a very nice one indeed. Perhaps it was
I don't know that I would be brave enough to steal Patrick Stewart's car or borrow. I guess.
Well, when you're a kid, the son, and I can speak to this too. If you're the son of an icon on television, you realize that it's all a little bit of a sham. They're not Picard. My mom wasn't Marion Cunningham. They're completely different individuals playing a role. So, I mean, I did some unfortunate things with my mother's cars too. We'll go into another time.
What kind of car was Marion driving?
She loves cars, and when we were poor, before Happy Days, and we were struggling, she had a Chevy Vega, which I inherited, and that was my first car. And then when Happy Days started to pick up a little bit, she had some steady work. She bought herself a Fiat Spider, a 1975 Fiat Spider that was a cool little car. Nice. Then she bought herself a Cadillac Seville.
Very
and with
nice.
her initials painted on it too, MER, and a
See,
nice
that sounds, that's in my head. That's the type of car she needs.
Yeah. And then a few years later, after that, she bought a 1960 white Rolls Royce, which she still owns.
No, I like that.
Yeah, it was a
Nice.
Silver Shadow. Yeah.
Did you ever steal that one?
I drove it once. By that time I was, a grown up and I'd made amends. But I no longer felt the compulsion to steal from my mother. But I did drive it once or twice, and it was a very difficult car to drive.
Was it standard?
It was automatic, but it's a heavy car. It weighs about as much as about 5 cars. And the steering had a little bit of a lag, so you had to really plan ahead. You'd make your turn, and then eventually it would go, and you'd make another turn, and eventually it would go. So it was kind of like flying, a cargo ship or something. I was always very nervous driving it.
Yeah. Well, Jim, thank you so much for a little bit of time today. It's always a pleasure to get you on the show. It's like I'm interviewing 10 different people.
That's right. Well, I tell you, we all appreciate it. We're just as pleased as a punch to talk to you. So anytime. And please, anybody that's interested in that online course, go to jimworkingactor.com. Check it out. See if it's something you might be interested in. Makes a great Christmas gift.
Yeah, for sure. Everybody needs a little bit of help.
A little bit of help. That's all we want. We all just want to help each other along in life and enjoy, right? That's all we want.
That's all we want.
All right, Michael. Thanks so much.
A couple of quick things, Jim. A couple of quick things before you go. Welcome to Chippendales. Anything else that you've done or that you've been working on that we can keep an eye on?
A show called there's no release date yet, but it's called the Big Door Prize. It's
I wanted to ask you about that because it's by the Schitt's Creek guy.
Exactly. And it stars Chris O'Dowd, wonderful actor, wonderful comedian from Ireland, Chris O'Dowd, and it's going to be a great show. I don't know when it's going to be released yet, but
I know I've been looking for it.
Me too. It's going to be on Apple TV.
Yeah, I'm excited about that one.
Yeah, and then I just did an episode of Young Sheldon too. I'll be on
very
there.
Nice.
You'll see me pop up all over the place in the next year or so. I've got a lot of little things going on.
Plus, I love that.
All the other old performances I've done. And of course, I'll be continuing as Colonel Sanders. You'll hear me on the radio and on your TV too. So if it wouldn't kill you, go out and buy yourself a bucket of chicken.
I will have to admit that I get a little bit of pleasure out of seeing people on shows that I've interviewed. That's kind of neat.
Yeah, it's a little. It's like, hey, you know that guy.
Hey, yeah, me too. Talk to them. So Jim, run through your social media real quick.
Instagram at Jimpressions. You can pretty much find me at Jimpressions almost anywhere. JimMeskimen.com. On TikTok, my name, Jim Meskimen. Check that out. Putting a lot of stuff up there. And I'm on Facebook and then JimWorkingActor.com.
I love it. Well, Jim, thank you so much for the time, and you got to come back. You got to keep coming back.
I'm going to get better at coming back the more I practice it. I know.
Well, I think we're a lot alike. So I was just hanging in there. I was like, well, he'll show.
He's definitely going to show eventually.
All my friends that I grew up with, they still tease me about always being late, even though it's honestly been years since I was late. I used to be late all the time, but I kind of fixed it. Nobody has recognized that it's fixed.
Yeah, they only remember the times you showed up.
Only remember the times when I was late, the 400 times growing up that I was late. Well, best of luck to you, Jim. And
thank you so much, Michael. Thanks for the gracious interview again. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
That was the terrific Jim Meskimen. I think, probably the best impersonator that we have out there today. I absolutely love his impersonations. He is terrific. Thank you guys for tuning in again this time. If you'd like to help us out, you can go to MeisterCon Pod on YouTube and subscribe. That would be terrific. We'd really appreciate that. You can also check out our website, meistercon.com. So please find us there. Appreciate you guys so much. Until next time, please keep an eye out for Welcome to Chippendales from Jim. And I guess he's going to be on Young Sheldon too. So keep an eye out for Jim. He's popping up everywhere. Thank you guys so much. Until next time.